Welcome to Introduction to Game Development. This is Computer Science 303 at Missouri State University. My name is Matthew, and I'll be showing you how to use UDK. And again, I preface this tutorial with the disclaimer that I am not an expert. So today we're going to be talking about emissive lighting, but before we begin, let's go ahead and make sure we have the most current version of our map. So we copy our Lab 7, and going into our map shortcuts, go to our package here, and we'll go ahead and paste and copy and replace. And now that that's done, we know that we have the most recent version in our contents folder where we want to open it from. We'll go ahead and do that right now. So loading up the UDK editor, we're going to go ahead and bring up Lab 7, which we've already been working on. And we're going to begin by making an isolated space. Since we already have point lights existing in our level that we've built already, we want a separate spot where we can investigate the use of emissive lights before or without the interference of those point lights coming in as well. So let's go ahead and open our existing Lab 7 map. There we are. I'll close these. Now, just to remind you where we are, if we go ahead and hit play, I have my sound off at the moment. We added sound earlier, and we created this room here with the door, the buttons for Kismet, with Kismet using the play announcement to get a comment here when we press E, and then also the third-person perspective changer, and our ambient sound, which is nestled inside this storage tank here. And so we also have, I'll hit escape here, we had this point light here, and we also had a point light on the inside of this room right there. And point lights, you can place them anywhere, of course, and we've been using them already, but emissive lights differ in that they actually are using an emissive channel on the material on a static mesh. Now, there's a number of different static meshes that have this set up already, but we'll actually have to change some of the properties on it for it to work for us. But let's go ahead and begin by creating that new separate room for ourselves. So if we go to our brush, so here's our builder brush, and we're going to need to make this a hollow cubic brush. So here's the properties for the brush builder, and we'll go ahead and select hollow like we did before, and build, and let's go ahead and make this a little bit larger as well. So here it is, and we'll move it over just a little bit and down, and now let's go ahead and let's make it 1012 by, or 1024 by 1024, and you can make this whatever you like, really. 512. So there's another room similar in dimensions to what we had before, and we'll go ahead and slide it over to the edge here. And this is another occasion where it would be good to use our other views here. So with our front view, we can see them side by side. So here's our new brush here, and we'll go ahead and slide it right up to the edge of our platform here. So it'll be another room on the far end of our start area. And so seems to be lined up pretty well. It doesn't have to be perfect, whatever you like really for the design of your level. And we'll go ahead and hit Control A to add the brush. Now as well, let's go back to our brush builder here and unselect the hollow, and let's make it much smaller. So, and actually, we do have that brush over here that was used to make this door, and we'll just make it the same size. And so there's the edge of it, and we'll use Control P, and that made our brush the exact same size, shape, and location. Now we'll slide that over. And we'll also make it just a little bit fatter so we can make sure it fits directly on our wall in case we accidentally change the size of our, or the width or the thickness of our wall over there. So make it a little bit larger so that it intersects both sides of the wall, so that it overlaps both sides of the wall, and then we'll do the intersect brush. And now that we have it perfectly matched on our wall, we'll hit Control S to subtract that area. So now I'll move the brush over, and you can see we've made a door there. And so now if we go back to our normal view here, You can see we have the start of the room. And I'll go ahead and build the geometry real quick. Actually, no, we don't need to do that just yet. We'll go ahead and apply materials first. And since you all know how to do that, I'll go ahead and pause this while I apply materials to this room. And so now I've decorated the walls of our new room with a handful of different materials that I chose just arbitrarily. And as I play, you can see we still have the point light out here. We still have the point light inside our first room, but now in our new room, everything is nice and dark. And so now we can begin talking about emissive lighting. Now before we continue, go ahead and go to File and Save As, and we'll save this as Lab 8. Now entering into our room here, let's start taking a look at some of the static meshes that we have to work with. Now let's go ahead and open our content browser, and having static meshes selected, search for the word lamp. And searching for the word lamp, the first one you see is this S_NEC_lights_SM_Turk_lamp01. And let's go ahead and drag it directly out into our level. And we don't see it right away because it has a default orientation inside our wall, so let's go ahead and rotate it around. If you don't have that widget for rotation, go ahead and press space a couple times until you do see it. And then get it to 180 degrees, and there it is now nestled right up against the wall. And so right now I have the lighting set at unlit, so let's go ahead and put this back at lit, and right away you can see this is generating light. In fact, if we go ahead and jump into the game, we don't have to rebuild anything, but you can actually see there in the back where we've placed our light, you can still see it. So this static mesh, it employs what we call an emissive channel. On its own, it's just simply the pixels on the material itself that are lightened up, though. But we have the option of being able to make this an emissive light that can generate a light radius around it. So let's look at how we might do that. Now, while you have that static mesh selected, go ahead and right-click. And the very first option there is Static Mesh Actor Properties. And then in the very first submenu, you have Static Mesh Actor, then Static Mesh Component, and then under Static Mesh Component, go to Light Mass. And then under Light Mass Settings, we have a number of different options here. The main one we want to make sure we select here is Use Emissive for Static Lighting. And then also there's this Emissive Light Explicit Influence Radius. And so we can change this value, and let's go ahead and start with, I don't know, 512. And so with 512, we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll close this. And it doesn't necessarily recognize that we've changed anything, right? So if we went to play this in the editor, we'd still look over there, it'd look exactly the same. It wouldn't tell us we need to rebuild lighting. So we have no warning that we've actually affected anything. But if you go ahead and just build your lighting real quick, I just selected build all on accident, but if you rebuild your lighting now, and I'll pause this while it's working. There we go. And now we'll go ahead and close our build menus, and you can see that our static mesh that we've put in here it's actually generating light now on the side of our room. If we were to play the level, we can walk in and our room is lit up by that static mesh, and it has certain properties to that light dependent on that static mesh. So it's a nice yellow light that emits from it. There's other static meshes that we might use as well. But also, let's go ahead and take a look at the radius on this one real quick, because I don't want this to be too bright of a light. And in fact, let's move it down a little bit, because who wants to change that light bulb with a ladder? Let's bring it down. There we go. And now, right-clicking it, going back into Static Mesh Actor Properties, let's go ahead and bring this down to, say, 128. And now that we have that, and we can go ahead and just push this over to the side now. And rebuilding our lighting so we can get our new explicit influence from that emissive light to show properly. We can jump right back in, and you can see it's a much smaller radius there. We can walk in, and oh, there's the light in the corner. And you can put as many of these as you like into your level, but be careful. If you have too high of a radius and too many meshes, then you could easily bleed out the area with just entirely too much light. Now for our next example, let's go ahead and actually build a light switch. So to begin with, let's go ahead and find another static mesh that we might use. And one that we could use, search for FLU. There we go, fluorescent light. This one on the right here. It's S_LT_light_SM_fluorescent01B. Now, with this selected, let's go ahead and drag it out and put it on our back wall here. You can see this is another static mesh that has emissive light properties, in that it uses an emissive mapping. And we'll go ahead and, while we're looking at this here, if you double click the fluorescent light here in the content browser, you can see under LOD info, you can come to it, and here is the material that is being used on the static mesh by default. Now the material here in this case, and let's hit this find object in content browser, the little magnifying glass beside it, and we can find it in here. You can see it's the M_LT_light_SM_fluorescent01. And when we're looking at this fluorescent light material, we can double click it, and this brings up our material editor, which you might remember we haven't worked with this really in the past. But something you can see here on the far right, if you come over, it says fluorescent bulb color, param light color 2341, this right here. This is a parameter, and what's cool about parameters is that you can access them through a material instance constant, and this will allow us to change the color of the light. So let's talk about how we can actually create a material instance constant from this material. And so let's go ahead and close this out real quick. We'll need to actually just right click and anywhere in our content browser, and we're going to do a new material instance constant. And we can just call this our fluorescent light matte constant. Or you can call it whatever you like, really. And let's make sure it's not in some weird package. And here we are under lab 8. Okay. And so go ahead and press OK. And right away we can see with this Unreal Material Instance Editor, we have a number of different things here. The first one that we want to look at here, though, is parent. And so it needs the parent material that we're going to be using for this material instance constant. So we need to find that again in our content browser. So I'll go ahead and back to our static mesh editor. We can see the material there, and we will find object in content browser. So there it is again. And now with that selected, we'll go ahead and hit the green arrow to send it in as the parent. Now you'll see at the bottom here you have parameter groups just below parent, and then beneath that you have vector parameter variables. Go ahead and click that, and you see light color. We'll click that and go ahead and select next to fluorescent to the light color. So we're selecting that, and now these are the default values, but let's go ahead and we're going to be able to change these once we're actually in the game or using Kismet. But for now, we want our default material to be such that the light is turned off. So we want to be as dark as possible. So we'll go 0 for the R channel, 0 for the green channel, 0 for the blue channel, and there we go. And with those values set to 0, let's go ahead and we have to actually apply it to that static mesh. So let's see, what did we name it as? FLU, and oh, let's see, where is it? There we go. Just make sure you hit all assets and then search for the name, and you should see it right there. And now, while we have this material instance selected, go ahead and drag it over onto our static mesh. Now, to activate this light, we're going to use actually just a point light to do this, but a very special point light. In fact, we need it's a special actor, and it's called the point light toggleable. So if you go into your content browser, and in your content browser here, go to the Actor Classes tab, and then under Lights, you'll see the Point Lights menu, and then within Point Lights, you'll see Point Light Toggleable. So we'll go ahead and select that, and of course we could just drag it in there if we wanted to, or else we can just right-click and add Point Light Toggleable here. So now we have that Point Light Toggleable, and let's move it in where our light source is going to be. So there's our light source, and now also, just for a little bit of setup, let's go ahead and right-click on this Point Light Toggleable's properties. And so in here, we have, of course, many different options. And the ones that we're going to want to change here, if you go to the, where are we, colors, under light component, you'll see light color. And let's make this kind of a bluish light. So let's bring green down to, say, 200 and red down to, 175. So kind of a nice blue fluorescent light color. And then also, here's an important one. Since we want the light to be off initially, let's go ahead and hit this enabled key. This toggleable block here. Is this light enabled? No. So we want the light to be off at first. Now we'll close this, and we're going to need a trigger. So let's go ahead and right-click and add actor, add trigger. Oh, and let's go ahead and put a button there so we can see where it is. So, of course, under static meshes, we'll use the same button we've been using. And that was under the storage tanks. Here's our button. And we'll move it into position here. There we go. And I think we have the wrong side of it, so let's get to our rotation widget and turn that thing around. There we go. So turned it 180 degrees, it's resting in the wall. We'll put our trigger in that spot. And one thing that's kind of interesting about these triggers also, if you just don't like the size of the icon because maybe it's getting in your way, like in this case our trigger completely covers up our button, another option we have is to adjust the size of it. And let's see here. I know I can do it with the bottom of my screen here. Let me get the windows to close here. There's that. And one moment. And you can see how on the bottom it has a 1.0 for the draw scale. And if you can just lower that size, so like say maybe we want it for half its normal size, we'll do a 0.5. And doing that, and right away, as soon as you select that icon again, it's half the size that it was. It doesn't affect anything at our level, but it might help you to see what's going on as you're building. So now I'll position this directly inside, right there. And now with this selected, we'll go back to Kismet. And we have a new script here we're going to start. So right-click, new event, or actually, sorry, new event using trigger 3, and we'll just make it a used. Now we're going to need some kind of action to actually interact with our light, so this might be a good time for you to look over some of the actions that are available to you. There's just so many here, and you really just have to read about them before you know what you might want to use. And in a lot of cases, if you just have a simple goal in mind for what kind of gameplay feature you want to make, then often there are many different ways that you might accomplish it. In this case, though, we know that we want some kind of toggle, because we want to toggle the switch for the light to be on or off. So let's go ahead and under the toggle menu here, under new actions, we can just select a simple toggle. And so now looking at this toggle here, I'll move it over a little bit, or I would if I was not recording. You have this turn on input, a turn off input, and then a toggle input, which will just alternate it to whichever it's not at any moment. And so when this trigger is used, let's go ahead and have it just toggle it. And now we also on the bottom have an input for the target variable. You can do a boolean, so it can check to see if something is true or not before it allows the event to occur. And you can also have it going off to other events or to an out here. And in this case here, let's go ahead and all we want to really worry about right now is the point light toggleable. So going back to our point light here that we've put in, we go ahead and select it, and then right click, and you can see new object variable using point light toggleable _0. Go ahead and select that, and we would go ahead and select it to target since that's what we actually want to be able to toggle on there. And you'll notice also it has like a blue color with this like a magenta connection here. And that's to say that all variables in Kismet are color-coded. So for instance, if you were to say a new variable and choose a bool, it has its own color. And so on for other different kinds of data type. And now another interesting shortcut also if you're doing a lot of work in Kismet, notice we had to create that variable and then we had to connect it afterwards. But if you just wanted to connect something right away, let's go ahead and delete that. While we have that point light selected, you could actually right-click directly on this target node and say new object variable using point light toggleable _0, and it automatically connects it for us. And so let me just look at the properties here real quick. And so let's go ahead and close this, and we'll go ahead and test it, see if the light is generated. Oh, and lighting needs to be rebuilt, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. And let's see if we can access it now. So here we are in our level. Here's our room. Oh, and as I selected it, this light came on. We haven't done anything with our material instance constant yet, but the point light toggleable now works. If we come back to our button, press it again, and I'm having a little bit of trouble targeting it. And at least we do know that it is working again though. Ah, and perhaps the reason that was not working for our trigger over here was that we have not actually set the max trigger count on it yet. So let's go back to our trigger, under trigger 3 properties, and we can go down to our menu here, and max trigger count, let's make that 0. Okay, and we'll close that. Now we'll try it. So it's off by default. Click it, it turns on. Click again, and it turns off. There we go, wonderful. And so we're just about running out of time on this video. Let's see if we can go over the material instance constant. So now let's go back to our content browser and where is it? It's behind here. Just one moment. There we go, now it's popped up. And let's go back to our material instance constant that we created, which I think we named all assets, unfilter static meshes. Here we are. So this was the fluorescent light matte const that we made earlier. And let's make sure we have that selected. Now while that's selected, go back into Kismet, and we're going to need a very special action to interact with that material instance constant. While it's selected, we'll go right-click, new action, and it's really all a matter of what you're working with. In this case, we're working with material instances, and oh goodness, I'm not seeing set vector parameter. One moment. And it would appear that this latest version of UDK no longer has the ability to set vector parameters directly in Kismet. So we will continue this next time using an alternative method by setting scalar parameters individually, but it will take quite a bit longer, so we will not be able to finish it in this video.